What is up, everybody? We are in the blazing heat back here with the Yukon. We're gonna waste no time today. We gotta get this transmission in today. It's gonna be a 2-day process for me. I'm gonna get the transmission and the transfer case in today, and then I'm buttoning everything else up tomorrow. I'm just waiting on someone to come help me with the transmission to get it up onto the jack, and then we'll go ahead and jump over to the transfer case. And obviously here is our transmission and port converter ready to go into the car. I do have to get the transmission jack out of that car and underneath it, and then we can lift this guy out and use my mat solution to slide it under the car. So I realized after filming this day that I had not done a lot of commentary explaining what was going on. This was a 3-day process for me, and I unfortunately only had about an hour and a half to get all the work done that I did on this day. It was a 180-pound transmission, as you can see, so I did get a hand putting it up onto the transmission jack, and then they just stayed to give me a hand just aligning everything so that I could try and get out of there on time. But because of my time crunch, I was not able to explain too much what I was doing. It's a pretty simple process. Just get the transmission lined up with the engine, and then there's a series of 7 bolts that you need to get into there. I only had 6 of them. My transmission was missing a bolt when I took it out for some reason. I don't exactly know why. And then if you guys saw my other video, my transmission is actually broken at one of the bolt holes, so there was only 6 bolts really to put in. Then the only other thing that I accomplished that day was putting in the transfer case, just so that I could take the transmission jack out from underneath the car and the transmission wouldn't just be hanging on the engine. Instead, it was resting on the transfer case that was resting on that support bar in the back of the car. And then with all of that done, we picked it up on day 2 to do the rest of the install. So I've gone ahead and gotten this guy all connected up. I did that off camera. I just got the bottom 2 bolts done on camera, then I had to take off for those dinner plans I was talking about. Now they're set up. It's the next day. We're going to go ahead and start by getting into these wires. We're going to wire all this back up, including our gear selector. And then after we've got all the wires taken care of, I'm going to go ahead and jump over and get both these tubes connected on the other side, just because I want to get this all buttoned up before I push the transmission up, because it's just easier to reach around in here when it's not there. The next step is going to be to push the whole transmission up. I'll get the jack under here, but first I'm going to connect the transmission bracket that goes to the bar that crosses here. Then I'm going to press the whole transmission up and get it lined up, and then send it into those bolts, and we'll have the transmission mounted up. That'll leave us with just the drive shafts, the exhaust, and the bracket. Oh yeah, and we also have to connect the flywheel to the torque converter, but we'll do that after it's all pushed up. Still under the car, obviously. Brace finally in place, transmission set up. We're finally moving along. This is the point actually, last time when I installed this before everything went wrong, that I got to before I realized everything had gone wrong. Our next step here is actually going to be getting the torque converter to the flex plate here. Those bolts are 46 foot-pounds. If I'm wrong, I'll correct it up in the corner. Now it looks like it is properly installed. We should be able to get it in this time. I'm going to go ahead and get all those hooked up. Then we're going to connect the starter with the two 13s that we took out, and then I'll get the plate on it, and that should finish up getting the transmission connected to the engine. Then we'll work on getting the exhaust brackets and drive shafts back in, and then it's all about fluids and turning it on. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Well, we've only got maybe an hour left of sunlight. I know you guys can't see the sun there, but it's going down. We're on one of the final stretches. We got to get the exhaust in and then that bracket. This exhaust section I was able to get out with that bracket still in. This one I was not able to get out. So we're going to route this exhaust section in. So after routing that one, I'm going to install the bracket. After I've installed the bracket, I'll probably install this guy just because this does not get in the way of the drive shafts. Before I mount this one to the engine though, I am going to get the front drive shaft in, and then after we've got all that taken care of, we can move to the rear drive shaft. And that is all we need to get done today. But yeah, like I said, we're running out of time, so let's just let's hop in there and start getting that exhaust done. So I've gone ahead and actually switched gears to the front drive shaft here because I actually want to get this exhaust section, the one that's blocking the front drive shaft in the way, I want to get it secured before I try to put the other one in, just because it will make it a little bit easier to do. So we're going to go ahead, take care of the front drive shaft. We'll probably take care of the rear one as well. I also get the privilege of installing the drive shaft properly, unlike whoever last touched this. So both drive shafts are in. I'm going to go ahead and try and fit in this other exhaust section, and then I can mount both of them up, just bolt them in, and that'll more or less do it for the day. The sun has set. That means we got probably about 30 minutes of light left, and then tomorrow we'll come back and we'll just fill up the fluids because we do need to do that, but I'm not going to do that today. I need to actually run and buy them anyway. I did fill up the transmission when I first thought I had it installed. That was a mistake. Yeah, don't get preemptive. Anyway, let's get that exhaust in and get this done for the day. We're here for the last day on this Yukon. At least hopefully it turns on and drives out of here by itself. I did realize last night that we did forget something. Forgot to put on these brackets that are supposed to go on through the bottom bracket where the transmission mounts to. So we're gonna quickly throw these guys on.
Yeah, so it's supposed to just go right there. Perfect. Nice.
Now with that covered, the last thing I need to do is get fluid into the transmission and the transfer case. Transfer case one's gonna be a little bit trickier. It's two 18mm bolts that I need to remove. One for the drain plug, one for the fill plug. It's already been drained, which is why I need to fill it. I've got some fluid for that, and then I also need to fill the transmission through the dipstick. And then we're gonna see if this thing can go that direction. Fingers crossed. I have been jumping the truck for a little while now. I do know the battery's shot. I think it's charged enough. We're gonna try and see if we can start it. If we can, and it does start, if it does, we're gonna see if it reverses, see if this transmission's working the way we want it to. If it is, then we've got a working Yukon and we just need a new battery. If not, anyway, be ready for the most obnoxious noise in the world, if it actually turns on. At idle, this is tolerable. Once I give it gas though, oh boy, this thing is gonna be annoying. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect it from the Land Rover and see if we can get it to actually move now. That was quite a long process, pretty exhausting. Never want to do that again, never. We are back home, and as you may notice, there isn't a Yukon. So when I first got excited that it worked, it was working. So initially I backed up, and there was a little bit of a hill advantage, but I put on the gas and it did go a little bit further back. And then it got to a point where I wasn't able to reverse anymore. Like the reverse just stopped working there and then. So I put it back into drive, pulled it forward. This was after my level of excitement. Put it back into drive, pulled it forward, and then I tried to reverse it again, wouldn't reverse. Put it back into reverse one more time, and I was able to back it up, and it was a very weak reverse gear. And it did back out. It did back out all the way. I was able to turn it around or pivot around in the parking lot and pull it out forward. So I'm like, okay, it's working. But then I thought to myself, it's a weak reverse gear, so I've got to test this more. Went to a road, parked it on the side of the road, tried to reverse. Couldn't reverse. No more reverse. I tried that a few times. No reverse, no reverse, no reverse. Long story short, no reverse. I don't have a reverse gear in that truck at all, and it's a problem. It could be possible that the transmission that I bought and swapped out has the exact same problem as the one that I took out of the car. But at this point, I do believe it's electrical. Regardless, guys, I've got 2 days to figure out how this is getting to the track. That's what I'm going to turn my focus to right now, and then once that race is over, I've got a month and a half to get that Yukon working, so hopefully we can get it working. I have no backup solutions this week like I did last week with the borrowed truck. What can you do? Anyway, guys, if you like the video, like it down below. If you want to see more like it, subscribe. We've got some racing coming up, and unfortunately, we've got more Yukon transmission problems to solve. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.